What's up, YouTube? I want to talk about weed and panic attacks. All right, I have a little bit of an experience with this, not too much because I'm just not a regular smoker, but I did experience panic attack symptoms and anxiety the few times that I did smoke. I'll get to that in a second. I'll address what I went through and why I think it happened. Also, I will tell you reasons why I think in general panic attacks can be common with people who smoke marijuana or cannabis. And I want to tell you a few things on how you can either prevent this or at least make the frequency of it happening lower, okay? I get this, like I said, in the comment section down below all the time. People telling me, that they've never had panic attacks until they started smoking weed, or people want to know what they can do to make the symptoms of this not be so high. And although I'm not a huge supporter on marijuana, I don't have necessarily a big problem with it. So with that being said, I don't mind giving, some tips on how to make this not happen as much. Now, with me, I smoked marijuana 5 times in my life. Now, the reason I think that I had panic attacks whenever this happened was basically I didn't smoke a lot. So whenever I did, obviously I didn't have as much of a tolerance. So that's not the whole reason. The main reason I think was that it was so bad for me and why I felt really paranoid and all the the regular symptoms of being high and effects that you get from marijuana were amplified was because I was very, very drunk whenever this happened. So, I mean, everything was worse. I was a lot more dizzy. I really felt my blood pressure and heart rate go up. I really felt anxious. I felt paranoid. I had depersonalization, derealization, and, that was really, really bad for me. So, the first 2 or 3 times that I did this, I also was very nauseated. I threw up. So it just made everything worse, the fact that I was drinking. So if you're drinking a lot of alcohol and this is happening, pay attention. What's different about it when you're drinking than what it's like whenever you're sober. So make sure that you're taking that into factor. So basically, what are some reasons? Well, it has an effect on your neurotransmitters, excuse me. And it also elevates your heart rate a little bit. So you need to keep that in mind. You're also going to have more of those paranoid type feelings. So you're going to be more self-aware. And I think that's what a lot of this boils down to. You're very, very self-aware of what's going on. You're extremely paranoid about what's going on, whether you're actually actively paranoid or subconsciously paranoid. The subconscious thing is what's working with you, and that's what, tends to be more of a control factor when it comes to panic attacks. So make sure that you know that and keep that in mind, that even though you may not understand why you're having a panic attack, your subconscious is the one kind of running the show most of the time for most human beings. So you're more self-aware. What you weren't noticing earlier, you might be noticing now. So, oh my gosh, my heart, and I always hear the same stuff. Like, I started noticing my heartbeat, I started getting these crazy thoughts, and it's just because all it takes is one little irrational thought or one symptom to be super aware about to drive you into a full-on panic attack. And it's ironic because many of us think that weed and marijuana are supposed to calm us down and make sure that we don't have huge amounts of stress. It's supposed to make us feel less pain. But for some of us, and I think it's people that are more vulnerable to anxiety and have pent-up anxiety and stress, are going to be more so likely the ones that deal with this. All right, so keep that in mind. If you're just a naturally horribly anxious person, just especially if you have health anxiety or you worry about your health, you worry about your heart health, you have panic attacks already, keep these things in mind before you try smoking, or at least make sure that you're not drinking while you smoke, because honestly that made everything worse for me. So how can you fix some of this? I'll start with some of the more probably the not so common ones. Make sure you know how strong the stuff you're smoking is. You need to know, who you're getting it from. You need to know what it is, what it's called. Don't just smoke anything, okay? And I know one of the reasons many people panic is because automatically when they start getting this panic attack, a lot of people think, oh my God, I was laced, I got something laced, which it's not going to be the same. I think if you get something that's laced, and this isn't from personal experience, from what I've seen, you're just in a whole nother world in general. It's not just panic. It's not being scared of something. It's like straight up, you go right into it. It's pretty quick. This generally takes a little bit. So make sure you know how strong the stuff you're getting is, because if you're not used to a certain level of THC, then you could easily be driven more into a panic or anxious situation by doing it. It's going to feel different. It's going to make your body feel different, and this can scare you. So keep that in mind. Also, like I said, make sure that you are not drinking heavily, you know, huge heavy amounts. Some people are used to it, some people have that tolerance, it doesn't bother them, but this could be one of the reasons that it happens. I think, you know, I think most of the time when people, you know, have these crazy panic attacks, they're already drinking, and they're not the type of people that necessarily want to smoke all the time. They're the kind of the ones that are peer pressured into it, and, you know, they only do this because they're intoxicated on something else. So keep that in mind. Make sure your alcohol levels aren't crazy high. Something else that you can think about is that panic attacks, although they seem very real and they're scary, you're not dying, okay? So usually that will last anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes or an hour at most. I don't think that, you know, until the levels of THC start going down, you'll start to feel better. So, you know, just think about that. And generally, you can just get your anxiety in check. And I also will say that a lot of people just stop smoking weed. That's the easiest way to ensure that you don't have these panic attacks that are marijuana induced. Just stop smoking weed, or at least, you know, cut down on your amounts, okay? You don't have to smoke a whole, you know, freaking blunt every time you do it. So just some things to think about. If you're going through this, I'm sorry, you know, panic attacks, you don't want to keep getting into that cycle of having it, because it's a freaking vicious, hellacious cycle. And I would hate to see some of you, you know, develop panic disorder and anxiety attacks happening all the time just because you smoked weed, and that would be very, very unfortunate. So this seems to be something that happens a lot. I just wanted to make a quick video on my 2 cents on it. Like I said, I'm not somebody that smoked on the regular, so maybe my credit isn't all the way there, but I did experience the anxious and panicky type feelings whenever I did it. So just some things to keep in mind. If you suffer from panic attack, you know, disorder, if you have any other type of anxiety disorder, stress or depression, be sure to join the Facebook group down below, because there's a lot of good people in there that can help you out, along with myself. Join my Instagram, my Twitter. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the notification bell next to it. And also leave me a like and a comment down below if you suffered any type of anxiety or panic attack while smoking marijuana or weed. And just let me know. I hope you liked this video, guys, and got something out of it. Y'all have a good one.